Okay, so this morning I have the pleasure of having a conversation with Janet was out
Wiszowaty.
name Wiszowaty. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful. Wiszowaty. We actually met. I'm Vanessa Donaldson, the Van Life Girl Coach, and we actually met just through another podcast, and that's how conversations happen. You hear somebody somewhere else, and you say, "Oh my gosh, I was hearing her on another podcast with Dorothy from Women's Prosperity Network," and I said, "Oh my gosh, I need to meet this woman. She sounds so interesting, and she has so many stories to share and so much wisdom." So I just, did what you do on LinkedIn. You reach out to people and say, "Hey, Janet, I'm Vanessa. Can we have a conversation?" So that's how this started. And we realized that we had a lot in common. Despite my husband is retired Marine, so we ended up talking about PTS. And Janet has another story of not being in the US military, but she's in Canada, but very similar stuff with PTS. So I guess just from the get-go, I want to clear. I know some people always try to correct me. They say, "No, Vanessa, it's PTSD, not PTS. We're talking about post-traumatic stress." And I dropped the D a long time ago when I worked for a military charity and I was around injured vets all the time. And I thought, and I talked to them and we'd have conversations. And I said, "Why the heck do we have this disorder added on there? Who wants to walk around thinking they have a disorder?" And I could tell they didn't like it either. When you said, "Oh, yeah, he's got PTSD," she's got like pointing at them like, "What is this?" So even the whole company, they started not adding the D on there. And it's just been ingrained in me now. So I go places and people say, "Oh, no, it's D. You forgot the D." So I purposely leave off the D for that reason. It's not a disorder, and I don't like labeling it that way. So I just call it PTS. So Janet, welcome to my little podcast Zoom thing. And tell me more again about how you're connected with PTS and what you did in a different country altogether.
Yeah, I was a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and uh, it's it's more like your military as far as we don't stay in one place necessarily. Like we have lived in 4 provinces, 9 cities, and or small towns, or and in 15 homes over the career. And my husband was a member. I was a spouse before I was ever a member, and that's another story how I fell into that. But the same thing as what you guys go through. Like he was off in training, and I was at home, pregnant with our first one, and then 2 years later he went back to do more training, and then I'm at home for the next 4 months with two babies, and one 4 months old and one 12 months older, and so I get that, and really a mother-in-law that hated me. So
That doesn't
and
help.
I was a young mom, and my mom was a young grandmother, and so she was still working, so and lived 2.5 hours away. So there's that struggle. You have to rely on friends, and lots of times you're by yourself. So
Mhm.
that's just the beginning. But I get that, and I can remember even the move when we got transferred. I had to sell our place. I had these two babies, and
Mm.
my husband was at his new location, and he had taken the car out, so I didn't have a vehicle. So I was on a bus with one kid on my back and one on my arms because they're only 12 months apart, and flying across the country. And I'm sure that you're those watching can maybe understand this. Somebody else making your travel arrangements. So it was another police officer that was making our travel arrangements. So when it get time for me to fly, I got on a plane, and this is 1975, you guys. I'm ancient. This is 1975. And airlines would not even give me breakfast because I had a baby on my lap, and my son wasn't 2 yet. So he wasn't even supposed to be in a seat by himself, but I couldn't have two babies on my lap. And then that's when Winnipeg, and I flew to Calgary, and I was at the Calgary airport for a few hours. And my daughter on my back took her bottle and tossed it across the airport. And, oh, you know what? And then the officer who made all my arrangements said I couldn't fly into where our posting was. I had to fly into a different area, and my husband had to drive like an hour and a half or so to come and pick me up.
Oh
So
my God.
I got off the plane in Castlegar, British Columbia. I was getting off the plane. I found out the plane I was on was going to Cranbrook, where I was going.
And there you got off the plane.
I got off the plane. My kids were crying. I went up to the lady at the counter and I said, look, if there's a man coming looking for his wife, I'm at the hotel. And I got a cab and I went to a hotel and I got a playroom or whatever. And I let the kids, and it turned out my husband, they had partied the night before to give him a send off, saying that he's no longer a bachelor. And he finally got there, found out that he had been partying the night before and got, slept in and stuff. So we got to the hotel and the red lights blinking on the phone. And it was August, or it was the end of July, beginning of the August long weekend. And Les phones, makes his phone call and comes off. He says, yeah, okay. And he looks at me and says, do you want to curl this weekend? And for those in the States, you guys,
curling. Yeah,
that's one of these things where you throw a rock on ice and you sweep the rock.
We learned about that in the Olympics, right? Didn't it make it to the Olympics one year? Nobody knew about curling till one year we saw it in the Olympics.
Believe
and we're
me.
Like,
and that's a whole other story I got there about that.
Curling.
But so it was, they used to have a summer bonspiel every August long weekend. So I said, yep, I'll curl. You guys get me everything I need, all the gear. And I left my husband with the kids for the weekend. I had a good time.
You did some self-care. That's in the coaching world, we call that self-care. You didn't have any guilt. You were like, mama needs a break.
Not at all.
Yeah. And that's why you're still married, probably. You take care of yourself too, So in your first 5 minutes.
50 years anyways.
Oh my goodness. In your first few minutes of just sharing our connection and how we have such similar starts with the military, I thought I'm just in a mirror listening to myself. I meet my husband in Africa. I'm in the Peace Corps. He's in the Marine Corps. And of course, that was a big joke too. People just laugh when they see us together. They're like, the Peace Corps and the Marine Corps, really? War and peace together? Like, this will never last. But, military do want peace and have, they honor their country and they want peace too. So it's peace through strength, right? That's what we call it. Maybe peace through strength. So something clicked and we connected, and he was just different from all the other guys that I had come across. And I wasn't really into dating anyway, so I was a very slow mover. And but I just noticed, like, at holiday parties at the Marine House, he was the one playing with the children in the pool and making like water balloons and stuff. He wasn't at the bar picking up the girls. So thank God my intuition, turned me that way and said, wow, that's you should talk to that guy. You should hang out with him a little more and get to know him more. But yeah, fast forward, we ended up from Africa. He moved on to Italy. I followed him there after the Peace Corps, got a little job at the commissary, lived on Via Veneto in a little pensione. I was renting a futon couch for $100 a month from an Italian woman that she was a widow to an American military guy. So she loved hosting American girls because she could speak a little English and just loved that vibe and energy in her house. And also I could get her stuff from the commissary that she couldn't access the commissary. And I was working there. I ended up getting a job there. So she would leave her little shopping lists on the counter for me with her favorite little American products. But fast forward, we end up getting married at a courthouse, just flying back. He's like, hey, I got another duty station, will you marry me? My mother runs to the courthouse, she's the one taking pictures. $46. I mean, I joke, our wedding costed $46 at the courthouse. I stood in one line and I could hear the guy at the counter on the other side going, divorce or marriage? Divorce. Left. Divorce or marriage? Divorce. Left. And you're just like in this line for divorce or marriage. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't so romantic. I get to the front, he's like, divorce or marriage? I go, marriage. Right, and they moved me to the right. And I remember the woman was a Carmelita. That's all I remember. She was the one that, did the honors and actually did our wedding ceremony there with my mom in the corner taking pictures. And we had to run right from there to the base, get my military ID. It was, game on. He had orders. He had to be from the east side, first from overseas to the east side, and then all the way to California. That was our first duty station. So you talk about packing up the house too. Uh, we had a baby too in that time. And so I'm home with the baby, and I said, who's going to come pack up all this stuff? My mom kept all my dad's heirlooms. He passed away, and she had china cabinets and thick, heavy tables, like mahogany stuff. And she just had it all in her basement of her 3-story apartment, just ready for whichever kid got married first, get it out of the house so she could clear up her space. So it was me. And so I'm like, who's coming to pack all this stuff? And my husband goes, we're doing a Diddy move, oh boy, all the acronyms we could have in the military. I'm like, what's a Diddy move? He says,
Yeah,
do it
what is it?
yourself. They pay us some cash so that we don't hire somebody, but we're going to do it ourselves. So yeah, start bubble wrapping the china, grab some underwear, wrap it all up. And I'm like, I'm going to sit here and wrap up a whole house and all of the china and, gold plated this and that. Yeah, I sat there he just would go to the store and get ounces and what's it, yards and yards of bubble wrap. And I was sitting there with my baby and wrapping up the store, wrapping up everything in the house. And my mom was happy. She was like, "Yeah, I'm getting rid of this stuff." And I thought, okay, that was an introduction. Did he move? Do it yourself. Then he got that Ryder truck and said, we're saving some more money. We're driving across country. So, just Marie. There's no, you don't say can't, you don't say no. It's great for that kind of mindset. So there we go, off in the Ryder truck with our little baby bouncing in between us. And she was having, acid reflux. Everything's coming up. The shocks are like this. So we barely made it to family in Georgia. And he said, yeah, you're done with that. You're staying here. I'm going to drive the rest of the way and I'm flying you out. So that was a smart move. But yeah, we ended up in California. And I think a few months later, he starts talking to me about this word deployment. I didn't grow up with anybody. Well, my dad served in the military, but I never really got to know what he did in the army and all that. He passed away. All I know is when he died, they did the flag folding, and my mom got the flag, and it started to resonate with me, going, "Why is there an American flag? What's going on?" Well, Dad served in the army. I didn't even know that, but I think that's how he ended up at college, probably in an ROTC, program, and did a trajectory in his life. But that's another story. So there we are in California. We're getting settled. They had no base housing because it's, a hot spot. Everybody wants to go to Camp Pendleton Marine Corps Base. It's one of the premier bases. So he literally had to go to a travel or a little real estate office. And hey, I'm here at I just need a little place, a little studio, something. I got a wife and a kid. And found us a little place like in 3-4 days, just made things happen. Had the Ryder truck with all our stuff in it, talked to the guy, said, can we just leave this here for another day or two on your property while I figure out my lodging? And then we were the ones that moved everything up and down the little staircase. We were in a little triplex. And yeah, he's like, I got us a place. We didn't even know it was a few blocks from the beach. We were on the hill. The first time after we got settled, after a week or two of unpacking, I walk out to see the daylight and I'm with the stroller. And I asked, which way to the beach? And everybody's just looking at me like I'm on a foreign land. And they're like, just down the hill.
Which you were, really.
Yeah, just down the hill. And there we go down the hill. And we're walking with the stroller, going kind of angled down, zigzagging turns in San Clemente, California. And all of a sudden we look up and there's the pier, the most beautiful ocean, like all right there. We're like, this is just at the base of our little apartment. You did good, honey. So that was good. But when he told me about the word deployment, I'm getting ready to deploy now. So this is where deployment comes. I literally looked at him and said, what's a deployment? I had no clue. I think I was 24, 25. I mean, it wasn't in my upbringing. I didn't know the word. I didn't know anything about separated families and that whole lifestyle, but I was about to find out and get a crash course. So deployment. I said, what's that? And this is how he explained to me. I just gotta I gotta go to San Diego. I'm gonna hop on this ship for like 6 months. We like do these donuts. It's called Donuts in the Pacific. We do this like security stuff. We'll go out all the way to, the Middle East or Africa, Horn of Africa. I don't know. It's 6 months. It's a quick 6 months and I'll be back.
Quick 6 months, just quick 6 months, yeah.
And I'm
you
like,
stay home with a baby and see how quick those 6 months go.
I'm holding the baby and I'm looking at him like, and I think that's the first time I had like deer in the headlights, like what have I gotten into? And thank God I had a strong faith upbringing. We I think both got rededicated, reborn after the first deployment. We realized we can't do this alone. We need a higher power. to hold our hand and guide us, or else this is going to be a long, tough road, just leaning on ourselves and our selfishness and stuff like that. So I always, would tell people like this is a marriage triangle, and we got God at the top, and then, husband and wife. So when we get out of ourselves and all that, we just go back to what would Jesus do? Just keep living like that. Open up the scripture and get your answer there, because if you follow the ways of the world, like you can probably fall off track a little quicker and do your own thing, and you get more selfish, and what about me and the me monster and all that. So anyway, so there's it. We haven't gotten into PTS yet, but just those are the roots of how we got connected with our spouses, but something drew us to them, right? And we said we're in it, and like we'll just go along with the journey and figure it out, and okay, here we go.
Yeah. And I always say divine intervention, right? I met my husband. I showed up on his doorstep for dinner with a friend of my dad's and his mom's, and he was a security guard. As a kid, I moved every 3 years because my dad moved us. He moved all the time. He wasn't military or anything. He was a conservation officer. But and I met Les, and that was December 6th. It's coming up, so that'll be 51 years in December 6th since we met. We met December 6th.
We were in December 6th
when we met. Our wedding anniversary is in July. So we met in December. We got engaged in January, and we got married in July. I was 18.
Okay, yeah, you were a few years younger than me. You were a really young wife.
Yeah, I turned 19 a month and a half later, but still, it was pretty quick. And I thought, well, I'll never move again. And like I say, 6 months after we were married, he joined the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So,
and same background as me with my parents. My dad was State Department, so we moved every 2 to 4 years around the world, different countries, different continents.
Well, we stayed in one province.
Okay, but you still moved around.
With Les and the RCMP, we changed provinces and stuff. So that's not always normal like that. Usually you're in one province and just move around that province. But
yeah, but when you grow up moving
around, that's a whole other story.
Marrying into, a profession that keeps moving, it's almost normal for you. It was harder, I think, for some of these military spouses that came from these solid hometowns that, with the white picket fence, and grandma lived down the road. They had this whole family core unit, and they never really left. And all of a sudden they join, their military guy, and they're moving across the country where there's no family. It was a struggle for many women, and some of them, like, it broke the marriage. They were like, I need to go back to my family. I can't be this far from my family. And for me, I guess,
and that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for anybody from that area where we can both address, and to even the retirement. And like, I'm 69 now. I've been doing this for 50 years. So, we have a little bit of experience, and what we don't have, you guys, we know people that do. So that's what we're here for. We're here for you because we want you to know you're not alone either.
No, not alone. And women have walked this path before. They've gone through, the valley, and they've come on the mountaintop on the other side. Like, we overcome. There's people that have paved the way before. And yeah, if we can give a little tips and guidance along the way to maybe save you a few, headaches of crash going into a wall or something and going another direction, why not? Because we're all about lifting up women, empowering each other. And so with this connection with the military and the upbringing, the moving, just in that conversation today, like, there's so much we had in common with our start, and we're not alone. If we would open this up to a few more ladies joining us, people might raise their hand too, go, that was us. Yes, did he move? Yeah, first deployment, didn't know what that meant. So
yeah, and I think that what you'll see, what they'll see in our conversations is that we took stuff, like I told that first story and you told your first story, how, you can look back on it and we can laugh at it and see our struggles, but we've also learned to rephrase our rewrite how we looked at it, right? We can laugh at some stuff. And so most of our stories at the time that it happened weren't laughable. They were, gut wrenching. But we can look back at them, and that's our story.
Mm-hmm.
And we can laugh at them and say, we survived.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I think on my website, I even have a tagline. I just put it up there for fun, but it's still sticking. And it's laughing through my tears because I think I've had conversations like this. So you almost, I mean, I'm laughing now. I cry more tears of joy than tears of sadness. There's still tears, but there was laughing, but still through tears and overcoming all of that. So yeah, we want to be a light in the lamp for other women that are a few steps behind us that are, we're paving the way, and we just want the best for them too. We want them to thrive in their marriages. You've been married how many years, Janet?
50.
50, yeah. And we're just hitting our 26-year mark on December the 4th. In fact, when my husband was just walking out the door, I said, "Hey, are we going out to dinner for our anniversary or something?" Yeah. We were looking at eyeing this Italian restaurant we haven't been to. So yeah, we
Yeah.
want you to thrive in your marriage, keep the love alive, and know that it's possible, despite maybe turning on the TV or talking to, you know, the secular society that says it can't be done or just start over, just let go of it all and lose hope. No, we don't want that. We want you to have hope and thriving and wellness and all that stuff. So yeah, I
And we
think.
don't want you to lose yourself in that partnership and with always being one-sided. And that is, I'll have to say that things aren't always easy. Like, you can hear us now and we can laugh at things, but it wasn't always easy. And I'll have to say, for on my side of it, I wouldn't be here or where I am today if it wasn't for my husband backing me. And any crazy
Right.
idea I decided I wanted to do, he would say I could do it. And but in all that, there's your own self and your own confidence. You need to surround yourself with those people who can lift you up, not drag you down. And those are other stories we'll talk about. Living on a base. We lived on a military base too at one time. You know what? It's not always easy. Uh, you can choose to be with the gossipers, or you can choose with the thrivers.
Mhm. Yep. Loving your neighbor, all that stuff. Wow, so much juicy stuff we could go into. And I didn't even put my flower on because this is part of it came up in other conversations with another military spouse, seasoned woman in my local area. And she said, "You're peeling the wallflowers off the wall, Vanessa." So that's another tagline. Like, I peel the wallflowers off the wall. So many of us spouses, we've been dedicating our life to our husbands, our marriage, the country, the moving around. And yeah, we've kind of forgotten about our own living purpose or what we want to do next. Some people, not for everybody, some have had their profession the whole time and they can move with their spouse and all that.
Yeah.
For me, that's another conversation we can go into with careers. But I do want to help
Yeah.
peel those wallflowers off the wall that just feel like, they're stuck. They're like glued to the
Yeah.
wall. They just can't, they just need a little help. They need a little push just to start peeling those layers down and just, relaxing more and just letting go, and some
Yeah.
of my coaching clients, that's kind of where they were a year or so ago. Like, they were stuck to a wall. I have one woman like self-isolating, didn't want to go in public, had so much trauma from the past. She was served also in the military and then was a spouse. So all this stuff going on. And to watch her blossoming now, like, I help military spouses to bloom wherever they're planted. Like, all these little taglines come up, but it's amazing. She's back in school. She's working on a book with me. She's already planning her future, where she wants to go after she gets out and up back at overseas. Like, she's got big plans. And I look at like where she was a year ago, and wow. So yeah, I want more of that for people that are looking and searching, and we just want to, be there when we do it together. We figured
Don't
out
you
as we
just
go along.
love that? Just love that. Like, I coach people at their now what. So after my journey through PTS, at the time I was diagnosed, it was a D in it, but they've changed it to different things. But it's still a post-traumatic, right? And it's just the now what? Like, who are you now? And it's like anything. You're a single person, you get married, and now who am I now? I'm a spouse, I'm a partner. Then you have your first baby. Who are you now? I'm a mother. I have a responsibility. I'm a spouse. And it's just the journey. But to watch somebody bloom like that, my tagline is life is a team sport. And when we all work together, miracles happen. And
Mm.
it's true. We support each other. instead of tearing each other down, because really the core of us, we all have the same dreams and aspirations, and we all want that harmony in our lives. So together we can do it. It's not like you've got your triangle, and but that is that God brings us all together anyways, and he's there. All we have to do is ask to invite him in and say, hey, I need a little help here. I talk to the angels all the time, because you lose something and I find it, say thank you.
I love when that happens.
I know. But yeah, that's it. We're put here on earth for a reason, and let's find our purpose and support it.
Absolutely. Well, good. We know people's attention spans. We like the 20-30 minute mark, right? Because everybody's so busy and has so many things to do. So I appreciate you jumping on between you're getting ready to go do some house sitting and move around, like you're on the go, but I appreciate you making time for this, because it's important and we both see value in this. So we're going to keep having more of these conversations, and hope we can have some people joining and chiming in and sharing with other people. If it resonates with them, hey, share it with a friend. So if somebody needs to hear what we're saying, so somebody's always needing to hear something from somebody. We can all learn from each other. So we're in it together. But thank you so much, Janet, for playing with me today. And this was a more uplifting one. There might be some tears that come here and there too. I've been known as the cry coach, so who knows? I might be crying on here too. But you're getting our authentic selves, and that's all we can bring to the table. So
we're here for you.
We're here for these ladies. Absolutely. I'm gonna stop. Oh, you know what? It didn't hit stop yet, but if people do want to reach you, where?
I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. So you can always reach me through Messenger there. And it's Janet, Janet, and Wiszowaty, easy to say. It's Wizzowaty. For the Canadians, it's a Z, but for you Americans, it's a Z.
Yeah. It reminds me of Wizard. If I think of Wizard of Oz, it'll stick more. Wiszowaty. See, now I got it. So, and for myself, you can reach me at my website. It's probably the easiest way to see everything I do, and all my links for LinkedIn and everything are on there. So that's www.vanlifegirlcoach.com. That's where you can find me. So thank you again, Janet. And until our next conversation.